Barbara Stewart. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning, Madam Mayor. Morning, councillors. It's a fascinating process, the annual plan. I will just sort of pick out the bits of a rather sort of across-the-board submission. The first few paragraphs, it's basically the ever-spreading development of small townships around the city, and the lack of, because they're so closely put together, there's a lack of the ability of long-term growing trees to improve the environment. They're literally listening to each other's lavatories being flushed. But long-term, there's no space for anything green and lovely to improve their environment. Within the whole planning thing, the building of the inner city must remain a unique place to come to. Otherwise, it will be, again, the donut system, because they're all going to get their little shops, their towns, their community halls and whatever, and they will not come into the inner city. So the town planning, even though it's well down the road, is utterly critical, and I think some of it leaves a lot to be desired. The coastal hazards for the city, they're very real, and they must actually be evidently accepted in the manner of agreements for the building processes, the building designs. There are places in the world where this has actually been very well done. We could call them pole houses or whatever, but we mustn't ignore the reality of what Christchurch is no doubt, one way or another, going to face in climate change. The CCCHL Capital Release Programme, the first one, has ended. I think the CCCHL has been an enormous boon to our city in so many ways over many years, and I congratulate the council for holding on to it. Its existence has been challenged many times, but I hope maybe you'll be looking at a new capital release arrangement to face the city demands over the future years. The user play, listening to past speakers, the user play systems should be looked at. If in fact it is a very important issue, one particular issue to a group of people, that conversation could actually accept the fact that further funding will be acceptable to move it forward. It's a hot potato, I accept that, but not everybody is absolutely at the same space and the same emotion about whatever the project is. So I think user pays for whatever you're considering is well worth the debate. The water bottling plants, I think this is an enormous issue. What's happened is we have these vast lakes, these vast aquifers, and you have licenses that have been given like a pipe down to whatever the issues are throughout these lakes. And licenses such as tanning licenses have been given and now have been taken over, with endless millions and millions of dollars of litres of water being sold overseas. But that is not, in my opinion, just to that one license. It is actually undermining the entire aquifer system to the advantage of whoever has the new license, but it is to the detriment of the city long term. And I think it's a whole new aspect of understanding what's actually happening should be there, and it should not happen that in these change of licenses and people say, oh, but they've been given for 30 years or 40 years. It has to be looked at because one owner is actually undermining the whole prosperity of the area, because that's the reality. It's one lake with one bore, but there are requirements for the water across the city, and the whole aquifer is not one person's benefit, as is happening at the moment, particularly tannery licenses. The drinking water, I support everybody. There's going to be an enormous backlash if this is not the temporary measure that has been reluctantly accepted. But I think that if there was any other device used to make this a permanent situation, there would be an utter outrage in the city, and that is a real issue to follow through. The stormwater and flood protection, the woman earlier than me said it far better, but I've been here arguing for Styx River on a number of occasions. It's an utter disgrace. I get a report back after the annual plan saying, oh, the machine, whatever it is, that goes up and down, has been going there once or twice. It does no good at all. It changes absolutely nothing to the river edge, to the mud, to the bog, to the fallen trees. It's a disgrace. So whereas you're looking more particularly at Heathcote and Avon, the concentration is there. I'm not taking away from that. But the Styx has just been ignored, and it's gone on for year after year. And I think it's a disgrace, and I really do support what the previous submitter said in every sense. She said it very well. The community facilities, as I read this book, it seemed to me that the sports facility spending was overall going to be considerably larger, whether you've taken the swimming pools and you've taken the sports stadiums, you've taken anything, to the arts funding, of which it seems as if there's only approximately 22 million left after the finishing of the town hall. I fear the outcome for the court theatre, which is what I'm here to promote, in the sense that it will be severely compromised. And I urge you to see that this is not only one of the city's finest institutions, it's actually utterly remarked upon throughout the country and overseas. It is an extraordinary organisation. And therefore, if it cannot fulfil what you wanted to do, in the sense that really celebrates this as a centre point within the city, it will be a tragedy. So I urge the council, at its time of consideration, to see just how special it is, has been and should be within the city's arts institution and all the arts facility, but I particularly speak to the court theatre. Now, facilities, this was...
Barbara, also, you've come to the end of
okay,
your
right, can I just make one point, one tiny point on the back page? If you drive through the inner city, you can't, there's so many street signs, they're not there, or you can't see them. Could you please look at kindly just increasing the number, increasing the size so they're visible, and could you please ask the city businesses to put a number there? It's just a tiny thing, but it is enormously difficult now. There's no signal as to where you are, and I think that's just a basic thing we shouldn't do much with. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much for your submission.
Don't forget to read the whole thing. There's a little bit more to it than just babble.
Yeah, we have look, and I say to all of the submitters, we have read all of the submissions, and when you come to the table, please focus on the key points that you want to leave with us.